Hey, 5th through 8th students, it's Ethan. We have Nate back here, and then we have the boss, Kevin, is here. And we're talking about recalculating. Has this ever happened to you before? To where you're going somewhere, whether it's vacation or somewhere new, you have to put the address in your GPS. As you're going, mom or dad takes the wrong turn, or there's some traffic ahead. What does the GPS do? It recalculates, right? It recalculates your direction, and it changes a little bit of kind of where you're going. And I think this also happens in life. Like, recalculation happens, plans change. I think right now we're living in a huge change of plan, and we've all had to recalculate our lives and our schedules and everything. And that's why for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be going into the lives of 3 different people in the Old Testament and looking at the way that they dealt with recalculation and how we can continue to trust God and that He's in control overall. But the tension is...
Well, reality is life changes, right? I mean, pandemic, not planned. Your parents come into your room and saying, hey, we're moving, not planned. Things happen, and you're going to have to figure out how are you going to respond to those things in a way that brings God into the equation. And what is your natural bent? Is it to get angry? Is it to get sad? Is it to go in your room and slam a door? We need God's truth to change the way that we recalculate our lives when plans change.
So, like Kevin said, change is hard, and it also is a reality, and it happens. And so we're going to look at the life of Joseph in Genesis. So grab your Bibles, pause it if you want, turn to Genesis chapter 37. And what I'm going to do is I just want to walk through the life of Joseph and show all the recalculating and the change that happens in his life. So first, Joseph is the favorite son, right? You may or may not be the favorite child, but the honest truth is that every parent has a favorite kid. So anyways, but his brothers hate that, right? He has a special jacket that he gets. He tells these dreams about how everyone's bowing down to him. Joseph really doesn't help his case when it comes to him being the favorite son. So all that boils into his brothers trying to kill him. I know, it's pretty serious. But they actually instead of killing Joseph, they're just going to sell him into slavery and make some money off of him, which is even worse. But anyways, Joseph goes into slavery. He ends up in Egypt, and then he rises through the ranks and becomes part of the inner circle. And so he is now goes from slave to second in command. Then another recalculation happens. Someone accuses him of doing something that he didn't do. He gets thrown in prison. While he's in prison, he makes some friends, he interprets some dreams. He's kind of a dreamy guy, but he interprets some dreams, but then they forget about all the stuff that he did for him. Another recalculation, right? So Pharaoh has some dreams, and then Joseph is then called up to interpret his dream. He is back in second in command. He interprets dreams. There's a famine that hits the land, and the story comes to a full close to where Joseph is sitting there. Everyone else has been hit with a famine except for Egypt because of who Joseph is and all the work he did. And then his brothers show up. They need some help because they've been hit by the famine. So they don't recognize Joseph because it's been years, and I'm sure he has Egyptian stuff on him, okay? But they don't recognize him, and so we're just gonna stop right here. What would you say? What are some of the thoughts that would go through your mind as your brothers who sold you into slavery, wanted to kill you, come in asking for help? Now, we probably can't share those thoughts because they're probably pretty mean and not very kind, right? But look at what Joseph says to his brothers in Genesis 45, 5 through 8. He says, and now don't be distressed. He's talking to his brothers. Don't be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine that has been in the land these 2 years, and there's 5 yet still happening, and God sent me before you to preserve life and a remnant on earth. So it was not you who sent me here, talking to his brothers, but God. That's incredible that he understood that this was all a part of God's plan, that it was in fact Joseph's recalculations, they were a part of his plans. When Joseph's plans changed, God's plan never did. And that's a perspective that God had. You know, in verse 8 it says, so it was not you who sent me here, but God. That is so powerful that Joseph understood that. And I think in our own lives, the more we can understand, like Joseph understood, that God's plan is going to happen and all the recalculations and changes of plans, all according to his plan.
So what do we learn from all this? What are we learning from Joseph's life? Well, like we're in a car right now. You use a GPS when you're getting to a certain place. Normally that GPS and that map gives you a turn-by-turn view. But you have the option to zoom out of your turn-by-turn. You can check your parents' phone for this next time they're driving, and you can see a big overview of where you're headed. So you can see point A, point B, and the entire trail of how you're gonna get there. So what I'm learning from Joseph's life, and what I wanna point out to you, is that you've gotta zoom out and see the bigger picture, that God is working all things for his good. Trust in him. Simple truth to remember, easy truth to remember, but hard to apply. Just trust in him. Trust that God is in control, that he rules and reigns over everything. And so that no matter what recalculation, no matter your detour, no matter what the change of plans is in your life, his plan will always happen and it will always be good.
Thanks, Nate. You know, I really like the story of Joseph because I feel like it ties in with the story of Jesus. Joseph got accused of a crime he didn't commit and had to pay for it. Jesus came down here, lived a perfect life, came down to save people, and then was killed by the very people that he came to save. But what they meant for evil, God meant for good. God had a plan to send Jesus to save us. So next week, we're going to be looking at the life of Jeremiah and how Jeremiah didn't just endure the recalculations, but he embraced them because of his faith in God. See you next week.